If you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about how to not obsess over food and exercise and dieting. If you are a person who feels like you'll finally find happiness once you achieve physical perfection, this is for you if you've ever obsessed about this. Marla Mervis-Hartmann, she is a coach, a speaker. She's done a TED Talk, and she has her own story with body image struggles and eating disorder struggles. But she now speaks on learning how to love your body, love yourself, and love your relationship with food. So Marla just hopped on, so I'm going to invite her on here.
Yeah, but Marla, thank you. Okay. So,
All right.
Marla, you just kind of introduce yourself, your struggle with binge eating and overexercise, and just kind of tell us your story.
Okay, great. Yeah. So my story is very long because I really struggled with my body and my weight and my food for more years than I wish to report. But really the gist of it all was a lot of restricting, a lot of not liking my body, never feeling safe around food, never having any freedom around food, always having shame if I overate, if I ate the wrong things, if it was too much of this and not enough of that. There was a lot of shame attached to my food, which had me acting out, restricting, binging, dieting, over-exercising, beating myself up, a lot of negative self-talk. Just my life kind of revolved around it. My worth revolved around it. How I did. It was a good day if my food was on track, right? It was a bad day if I went to sleep and I'm like, wow, that was too much sugar. Wow, even though I was with friends and I did a lot of great things, it still was a bad day. And I did a lot of work on it. Years and years of working on this piece with me of wanting this to be relieved. When I finally let go of that, when I finally surrendered and accepted my body, it's not an easy thing to do. And it's actually a daily process. It's a moment to moment experience of like, can I accept my body for what it looks like right now? Can I accept my body and accept my food choices and not have my food choices be my worth? So after that shifted for me, and it was around my pregnancy that it actually kind of grace came in, this baby came in, this like new way of being, that my life has changed. And from this point on, my life is completely different. I do have freedom. Yesterday, I ate way too much sugar. And as I was thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, why did I eat that much chocolate yesterday? Well, it was offered to me and it was good. And I'm like, well, that really wasn't a good idea. But my shame around it is not there.
Gone. Yes.
It's gone. So there's not like this, it doesn't stick around. Like shame makes things stick. And then we act out in these weird ways.
Yes.
Like my day, if I did that like years ago, my day today would be revolved around like exercise and cleansing. And it's like the body, I trust my body. My body's going to tell me, it's going to support me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that we, especially with our kids and our daughters, diet culture, I believe, is causing eating disorders and obesity in the sense that we're raising our children to believe that food is either good or bad. There's bad food and there's good food, and if you eat the bad food, the sugar and the fat and the carbs, you're basically a bad person. You should feel guilty and shame for that. And if you eat the good food, then you're on track. And what that causes is, for me, I struggled with bulimia, and it very much started after months and months of the most restrictive diet that I stuck to like glue. Like I did not eat anything that was on my bad list. I stuck to this strict diet, and then once I finally broke the diet, I felt immense shame, immense guilt, almost had a panic attack, felt like I'm a horrible person, I'm going to weigh more the next day, and that's when the purging started. And you never think you're out of control, but eventually it very much controlled my life. And it was this idea that once I reach a certain weight or once I reach a certain physical perfection, I will find happiness and I'll finally be okay with myself. And that's just not true. So I think it starts with your internal dialogue. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh, totally.
Right? That we have to stop beating yourself up. Because and I guess I don't know if I explained this. I think when we're talking to our children, we need to be able to enjoy a cookie with them and not say, why are you eating that? Have you had your vegetables today? It's like, eat the cookie and be like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Isn't it great that food can both nourish our bodies, but it also can be this really great treat that we get to enjoy. And if you allow yourself to enjoy it, you're going to not be obsessing over, gosh, I want some cake the whole day. And you're not going to overeat, I believe, once you get rid of the shame and the guilt. So internal dialogue. Kind of talk about that and how you kind of start the shift to have this healthy relationship with food.
Yeah. So I feel like this is really the key. When someone asks me like what can I do to shift things, it is looking at how you're talking to yourself. And that's the thing. It's like we can't go from I'm disgusting, I hate myself, I'm never looking in a mirror to oh my God, I want to like have sex with myself like all the time. Like we can't go from there to there. Like that extreme, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about slowly creating this process and this new practice where we can get to this point, right? We don't live here, right? There are moments we go up and down the scale, but it's really about first being ultra aware. Like, what are you saying to yourself? How are you talking to yourself? What are the thoughts that you're saying? What is coming out of your mouth? Like being really aware. That's the key is just noticing, and you'll notice like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying that to myself. Oh my gosh.
Or when you pass somebody who's gorgeous and you allow it to make yourself instantly, it like ruins your day. Like, wow, now my day is ruined. Like, she's perfect and I'll never look like that.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy because there are other people are allowed to be beautiful. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to be.
Exactly.
Right? Like her beauty has nothing to do with your beauty. You can be beautiful too, right? And let me just throw this in. And just because she's beautiful doesn't mean she's not struggling with not liking her body and thinking that she may be walking through with, you know, all the bubbles on her head being like, I can't believe I ate that. I'm you know, she may be having all of that awful dialogue too. So let's not just say like she has the perfect body and she's feeling good, because that's not the truth. I mean, maybe she is. Hopefully she is, whoever she is. But it's not. This issue is not size. It's not skinny people don't have this and people with more weight on them do, right?
Right.
So that's a little side note.
Everybody, no matter what size you are, no matter, even men struggle with this too. And we'll get back to the internal dialogue, but I guess the main point I want to say is what's so sad is if you find yourself in this place, you are missing out on living the most purposeful, joyful, happy life, because you are meant for more than chasing physical perfection. That's not a life's purpose. That's not something that you should just obsess over your entire life and then die going, I obsessed over having a six-pack my whole life. That's not a life's purpose. We can give so much more. We have dreams. We have an ability to love and to give and to create. And if you're obsessing over this, you are preventing yourself from becoming the person you were always meant to be, that little girl, right, that was so bright-eyed and felt like the world was hers. So that's kind of, I think, the goal in getting rid of this bad relationship is that we can truly step into our purpose and love ourselves.
Exactly. And that is, first off, I want to say that I've had many women in their 70s that have done my workshops and still struggling. And if that's not motivation to like get your act together and work on this self-talk piece, then and you may be in your 70s right now watching this and understand that the struggle does not just go away unless we really take some time with it. And this, I love what you're saying, because if your goal is to figure this out, then why? Like, we need to always find the why. It's not just to have freedom with food. It's like, why do you want freedom with food? Oh, I want freedom with food. Why? Because so that I can be with my family and be more present. Why do you want to be able to exercise more or find an exercise regime? Not just so you can get your body together. It's like, no, you want it so that you can feel more vital and feel more confident and be able to run around with your grandchildren or with your kids and have energy and feel good, right? Like there has to be a bigger why, because if there isn't, then we're relying on willpower. And we know how far willpower can take us. It can take us as far as your diet took you, Nichole, right? It only comes up to a certain point, and then our survival mechanism, which is eat food.
Yes.
Take care of live your life bigger, right? That willpower
Yes.
just goes away, and that instinct comes in. And then what happens? We end up having shame because I'm not strong enough. No, you're not supposed to be that strong. Your body is working for you, although it may not seem like it. It may seem like it's the willpower, like your body is against you, but your body is actually looking out for you. And when you go to one extreme, your body is going to balance you out one way or another. It's going to have you crave those fatty foods. It's going to have you get sick when you've been exercising every day, right? Our body wants us to be well and be at that set point where we can live a vital life.
Yeah. So the why, it's finding the bigger reason. I kind of I'm going to try to make this make sense, but I often struggled with why I had so much issue with body image and stuff. I was trying to figure out why did I have this problem. And I was kind of made fun of when I was younger for being the chubby girl. And so I just wanted to belong. I just wanted people to like me. I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to stand out as different. And then once I had, kind of, it was just a normal weight, healthy weight, I still felt like I was fat. And then I went on this restricted diet, and then I was getting comments from people for the opposite reason. I think, friends wouldn't include me to go out to eat because of they'd say I just eat lettuce or something like that, and it's still this feeling of like I'm not normal. I want to be accepted and loved, and so I think the root of all of it comes back to a fear of not being lovable. Right?
Oh my gosh,
we all
yes.
want to be loved, and I think the root of it for me was I am not worthy of love and affection, and I'm afraid that I'll never have that in my life unless I achieve some physical standard of beauty. And it's sad because our media, the world around us, really does preach that message. It's the pretty girls that get rewarded. It's the pretty girls that get the boyfriends. It's the pretty girls that get the careers. It's the pretty, And so we are unfortunately taught this unconscious, probably unconsciously, it's ingrained in us that beauty does equal more for you. And so we can get trapped in this false belief that, okay, so if I chase physical perfection, then my life will be perfect. And it never works out for you that way.
Yeah, and you're saying so many different things that are so important to talk about here. Our society does preach, thin privilege, and there's a reality to it. I mean, there's a reality that there is a hierarchy, and people that are thinner, are viewed, it's like, oh, she's lost weight. Wonder what she's doing. There's this
it's glorified.
It's glorified. And if you're asking those questions, you're continuing to perpetuate it. So that we need, I just want all of us to realize, how did you do it? Oh my gosh, what are you doing? That's perpetuating this belief that's in our society that we're all creating together, right? So we all have a part of that, right? So, what you shared about as far as being loved, there is a deep need for all of us to feel like we belong, right? It is our root chakra, our primal instinct to feel like we belong, to want to be loved. And when we don't, it feels really freaking scary. It seems like we're just, just stick up for yourself and just take care of yourself. But if we just stop there, we're missing a major point. And the major point is to go against the grain on a primal childhood level feels like they're not going to keep me a part of the tribe. They're not going to accept me. They're not going to love me. And it may be over the fact that you don't want to eat your grandma's pasta or whatever. And it may seem frivolous, but there's a deeper core issue. And that's why when we're looking at our bodies and we're looking at body image and we're looking at our choices around our food, it sometimes can just get really shallow and can just be like, why am I not able to make these choices? It's because we're only addressing it on the surface level. There's so much more attached to it, just like what you're saying around worthiness and being lovable and being able to feel like we're a part of a tribe, really, right? And then these negative thoughts come in. And a lot of these negative thoughts, like I was saying, like being ultra aware of them, is also for us to be aware of, like, what are society's thoughts? What is the society's views, and what do I want to believe? We have to begin to acknowledge my belief, society's beliefs. My belief, society's beliefs. Sometimes they sync up. And then you get to go a little deeper and be like, do I really want to believe that? See, we have choices. We're not a victim to this. But it takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of inner work to realize, yeah, I don't want to believe that anymore. I don't want to believe that I have to have these 10 pounds off my body before I'm allowed to feel sexy or feel alive. Like, that's, every moment is a choice. You get to choose whether that hot girl walking by makes you feel good about yourself or bad about yourself. Like, we can actually use it. Wow, she's really good. Oh, I'm going to walk the way oh no, that feels good. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we
Yes.
get to choose how we respond to our world.
So for the people who are in the place that we have been, the people who are waking up every day and beating themselves up and saying, don't eat this sugar. Why did you do that yesterday? You're so ugly. You're so fat. The people that are just constantly, they're stuck in that place right now.
I can so feel that.
Right? Like, what are some practical ways that they can start implementing this path to food freedom and loving themselves a little bit more?
Well, first off, I just feel so much compassion. Like, I feel that in my body. I feel that place of, like, so much anger and shame and discomfort that we can hold. And I think it lives in all of us, right? And for those of you who are in that place even right this moment, I just want to let you know that it can go away. Like, it really can. And I know it doesn't seem possible at times. And I know there are moments where it seems hopeful and you're doing well for a while, and then it comes back and you're like, see, I'm right back where I am. But we really want to note when we are feeling good and really be like, okay, I made it this far. It's been 2 full days where I'm actually feeling good about myself. Like, we really want to put a lot of emphasis on that. But in those moments when we're not feeling good and we're feeling really, really mad at ourselves, is to shift it just a little bit. So instead of beating yourself up and getting the whip, I want you to turn that into some compassion. So find that voice inside of you that would be the voice of a friend, would be the voice of a coach, would be the voice of, your inner mother, maybe not be your mother, but your inner mother that says, you're okay. You're okay. I know you feel really bad about yourself right now, and I know you ate the whatever, but you're still a good person. Like, find that voice. And sometimes when I get to those places, I literally will, like, rock myself and just be like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It seems silly, but that's what we're wanting, right? We're wanting comfort. We're wanting to know that we're going to be okay. We're wanting that moment of compassion. And we can literally do that. And it's those quiet little moments that can really go, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. I really found, too, that I think it's very important to get the guilt and the shame out of your eating. You have to let yourself enjoy the bad foods, the foods that you thought were bad for so long. So I tell people, if you're trying to get over this, the next time you're having some crazy craving for a cookie or for cake or for ice cream, stop those thoughts that are like, no, I can't stop resisting it, and go get that cookie and sit down and smell it and be grateful for it and enjoy it and savor it and let yourself feel okay and not feel guilty for eating something that's meant to be enjoyed. And as I did that, I was able to watch not only the guilt and shame go away, but all of the urges to binge went away. Because as I was always purging, you know, so many times a day, I would always be afraid, like, if I ever get this under control, the purging, I will never be able to get the binging under control, because I was sitting down eating thousands of calories at one time, and so I just always felt like, even if I can stop purging, I'm going to have a whole other issue on my hands, because I'm going to gain hundreds of pounds because I can't, you know, I'm eating so much. But the secret for me that really unlocked this freedom was just allowing myself to enjoy what I craved in that moment. And it's so weird to me, because I could totally binge on an entire plate of brownies before, an entire thing of brownies. I would make while I was home by myself, eat all the brownies, and feel so guilty, beat myself up. And now for the first time in my life, I make brownies, and, you know, half a brownie is all I need. It's satisfying, it's delicious, because there's no guilt there. It's like, if I want a brownie, I can have a brownie. If I want some cake, I can have some cake. If I want ice cream, I can have ice cream. And there's no more guilt and shame. So I tell people, don't you think that's kind of an important step? Like, listen to your craving and go eat it, and don't feel bad about it, which is hard to not feel bad about it, but you kind of have to, like, and you might slip up, right? You might start to eat it, and then you end up binging on the whole thing, but you have to practice getting rid of the self-hatred when you fall into that again, I think.
Yeah, that's such a your story is so powerful, Nichole, because there's so many people out there that are binging the way that you were binging, and think that they'll never be able to feel better.
Yes. It feels like it'll never stop.
Right, I'm sure, yeah. And then they don't want to stop the purging, because they're afraid that the binging's going to stay, and then they're going to gain weight.
Yes.
And then, so they have to hang on to the purging. So it's like, you sharing that is so, so important for people to hear. So I love that you did that. And yes, talking to the craving, going for it, eating the food is so important. And that voice may still be there. And this is what I have found is, like, when I've started to give myself certain foods, there's still the voices like, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. I can't believe you're doing that. You're going to get fat. You're going to be this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And it's just like, shut up. Right?
Yes.
It's like, I am not having this conversation right now. Like, you're ruining the experience for me. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So, but it's that part of us that's scared, truly scared. That part of us is afraid. That is the voice that's afraid that we're not going to belong. That's the voice inside that is afraid that if we're eating those foods, we're not going to be lovable. There's a deeper fear there, right? So in some ways it's like, shut up. And in other ways it's like, no, actually we're safe. No, we're safe. We're okay. And this reminds me, just working with a client, and she was talking about, like, okay, like, I don't know why I'm making these choices with my food. I know I'm not supposed to. In the middle of the day, I end up, like, having 2 candy bars, and, you know, tomorrow I'm just going to, like, it's going to be better. And I'm like, okay, no. If we're setting ourselves up to today's going to be the perfect day, and we're not going to make those choices, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Yes.
Like, if you're binging and purging 4 times a day, to go and say, I'm not doing it today, is like taking your safety mask. It's taking your survival mechanism to deal with your life. So it would be more like, okay, today I'm only going to purge twice. Or today, okay, I know that I know I'm going to eat that candy bar. So I'm not going to say that I'm not. I'm going to eat the candy bar, and I'm going to enjoy the candy bar, and I'm going to look at why the candy bar is such a big freaking deal to eat to begin with, right? So it's really not you have to find ways to set yourself up for success. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't go from here to here. We have to take it slowly, building our confidence, helping ourselves to be like, wow, I did that today. Wow, I'm being
Yeah.
nicer to myself today.
Yeah.
And
You know,
that,
that's interesting that you said, like, today I'm only going to purge twice, because I'm trying to think, would I have felt okay with myself knowing that I had purged less? Because sometimes I was purging 20 times a day. It was horrible. It was like, that's all I was doing. So
wow.
I'm like, I've never been in this place where I'm like, well, just try to purge, just try to cut that in half. Because to me, that, I feel like that still would have made me feel like I failed because I still did it. It's like the guilt is always there, whether I was purging once or purging dozens of times. But I think you make a good point in that if you mess up and purge, stop beating yourself up for it, because it's this
Mm-hmm.
constant cycle of shame. So you feel the shame for eating and guilt for eating, but then you feel the same shame for purging and the same guilt for that. So that, I guess, it's a really good point to, you could celebrate that as a success. And I think the way that you decrease the number of times you're doing that is by stop beating yourself up for it when it does happen, because it does feel like an addiction. It feels uncontrollable. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think you can celebrate those little successes. And the way to eventually get out of it is to stop beating yourself up, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting you said that. I've never really thought of it like that before, but it made me realize I can think back now to when I was really starting to get better, and there was a day where I slipped up and I purged for the first time in a few weeks. And it was the first time that I was like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. You're gonna be fine. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. We'll have, and it wasn't this like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Why are you so out of control? Why don't you have any, self-discipline? You're disgusting. It was like, it was none of that. It was like, you know what? It's okay. And it was, so that's, yeah, thank you for saying that. And
Yeah,
like, I just
and
learned something about myself today.
right. Well, it works for some people and it doesn't work for some people, right? And that's why you have to take what you like and check it out. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that there isn't a way for you. It's just finding the right way for you. And one of the things that I have found for myself is around negative body image is that when negative body image starts to come in and it can feel like this freedom from it. And then all of a sudden, I would feel like this dark cloud that would just like come over me. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling so bad about myself. And like, where did this come from? Why is this here? Why is this like taking over my life again? And when I really slowed down to look at it, there was always something else that happened or something else that was creeping in. And negative body image was a way that I would distract myself for years and years from actually looking at what was a deeper thing that was going on. So it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It can just be that you're uncomfortable with how your sister is treating you, and she's been doing it for years, and now you're around her, or you're concerned about a trip that you're going to see her, and all of a sudden this negative body image comes in because there's another fear going on that you're not actually addressing. So we want to notice that, and we want it to not, it's not real. That's what I've got to with myself, is like, these thoughts that I'm feeling are not real. Like,
Hmm.
it's not true that
Yeah.
I am ugly and disgusting. It's not true that I will never be able to feel sexy or confident. Like, that's actually not true.
Hmm.
It's these thoughts that are coming in, and they're actually coming in. Now I realize they're coming in, and it's like when they start coming in, I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Yes.
Right? Like, oh, it's a sign
It's
for
like
me.
pointing you to, okay, there's a
Hmm.
bigger issue here. Let's
There's a
figure this
bigger
out.
issue. There always
Yeah.
is a bigger issue. With this food stuff, this negative body image stuff, there's always a deeper issue.
I always very much struggle with jealousy and comparing myself to other women and being in
Hmm.
a relationship. If I ever felt like my husband looked at another woman, or, you know, just anything, he would talk about a girl that he worked with, and I would just instantly feel oh, he had, he would say, oh, we had this great conversation, or this girl I work with, and he would say things like, oh, she's really pretty, and I internalized all of it to make me feel like, oh, I'm just not enough, which is so silly. So it's been good too to be able to celebrate other women and not let their success or their confidence or their beauty impact the way I feel about me. Which is a really toxic place to be. It's a horrible existence to feel like you're constantly competing with every female
Oh
that's walking
my
around
gosh.
you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a tool that I always give people, is to live your life, and as you're walking down the street or you're in your world, is begin to celebrate each other's bodies.
Yeah.
Every woman celebrate old, young, petite, voluptuous, big boob, small boob, a lot of weight on them, super thin. Like, we want to celebrate everyone's bodies. And when you begin to celebrate them and you begin to see the beauty in everyone, you actually begin to change the beauty standard. We get to change that. And we get to also, when we are celebrating everyone's bodies, not just like, wow, she's like, wow, look at her stomach. It's super, tight. It's like, no, wow, look at her yummy, soft belly, and the fact that she's, has the courage, right? She has a willingness to show it. And like, I get to celebrate her. In the past, I'd be like, I can't believe she's showing her belly. I wouldn't show my belly, and my belly's like better than that. Like, that was my internal dialogue. Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Right? The judgment that I would have on women. And now to shift that and be like, wow, you go, girl.
Yes, that's awesome.
And that like really changed. Now I can look in the mirror and be like, okay, like, that's okay. A little bit of flesh is actually, like, I don't have to be afraid of flesh. We're all so freaking afraid of flesh. It's flesh.
Yes, that's so good. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is just really something that's been on my heart lately. I spoke at a women's conference this weekend, and I had so many moms come up to me and talk about that they have these young girls, 9, 7, who are already saying that they need to go on a diet or that they need to lose weight. And they're like, I don't get it, because this is not coming from our house. They're like, we don't talk about fat, thin. We don't weigh ourselves. We don't talk about diets. And what I want to say is, it's because other people are not having this conversation with their kids. Even the children who are watching their moms obsess over their weight and exercise and their diets are coming to school, and they're seeing that at their home. So they're bringing that to school. I had my daughter in 2nd grade came home and told me that a girl was teaching all the girls how to count calories. Now, the girl that's teaching everyone how to count calories is probably watching that in her own house.
Totally.
And so my message is like, first of all, know that your children are watching you, and if they are seeing you obsess over your body and your food, they're paying attention to that, and it's going to affect how they see themselves. But also, even if food and weight, and that has never been an issue for your family, I feel like you still need to have the conversation with your kids that it is never okay to talk about good foods and bad foods. It's never okay to ask someone what they weigh. Don't talk about your own weight. Don't talk about what size of clothes you wear. And never, ever use the word fat. Don't call someone fat. If you hear someone being called fat, stick up for them, because I feel like people have maybe never experienced body image issues or weight issues. They kind of forget that this is a really serious struggle, that for some people, your child's word of saying you're fat, you could say, oh, tell them you're sorry, but that word could affect them for the rest of their life, and it needs to be a conversation that's happening more than in just my home. I have these conversations because I know how detrimental it can be to someone's life, but I think these are conversations that everybody needs to have with their kids.
I love that you're bringing this up, because for mothers, it's such good leverage for you to get your shit together.
Yes.
Like, if you want a reason to take care of your inner world and be more loving to yourself, it is because you want to make sure that you don't pass this on to your kids. You don't want to be saying that. You don't want to slip up and say, I can't believe I look like this today. Like, do not say that.
Yes.
Like, you don't want to look at yourself and go, ooh, I can't believe my arms. Like, you do not want to say that out loud. If your children hear you, they hear you.
Yes.
And so it's so important for you to take care of that and get that worked out so that you're not passing it along. And yes, I think you're so right. See, my family never talked. There was no dieting stuff going on. Like, there was always celebration of our bodies. There was always openness. My mom did not have any issues with her body in food, and somehow I still got this, right? But now we have social media, and now we have all these things that are like, we do need to have the conversation. It's not just like, it's not like I'm like, if you're not one of those mothers that's doing that, it's not just leaving it there. It's like sitting down and having a conversation, like you're saying. It's
even if it's not
so
present
important
in your life, let your kids know why. Why is it not okay to say how much do you weigh? Because sometimes it makes other kids very uncomfortable to have to say what they weigh. That was me. I was always the big girl, and my friends would be like, I weigh 70 pounds, and I'm over here like, oh my gosh, I weigh 120. Like, you know, I'm so fat. It was just, so there needs to be conversation, even if it's not a problem in your family.
Right. And the other issue that I love that's coming kind of through like fat activism is that the word fat is not a bad word. It's like, it's neutralizing that word. Oh, you're fat. Oh, okay. You're skinny. I'm fat. I'm tall. You're short. I have broad shoulders. You have thin shoulders. Like we want to take the stigmatism even out of the word fat.
Yes.
That it's like, okay, so what that I weigh 120 and you weigh 70. Like, there's no, like, that there's still, by making fat bad, and I'm not saying that it doesn't feel bad, because I get it, but by making the word bad, we're still making thin better. Right?
Yes.
So it's like neutralizing.
Well, that's why I would say, because I struggle to like attach onto that, because if someone calls your child fat, I still feel like that is so painful. And for some reason, it's not painful to hear that you're thin, but that's why I think it needs to be across the board. Don't call someone skinny. Don't call someone thin.
Right.
Like, we need to stop all the comments. All of the conversation around what we look like and what we're eating needs to stop, because it was also comments about what I was eating that drove me to have an eating disorder. When I was eating unhealthy, I got made fun of. And then when I started being really healthy, I still got made fun of. I don't know. It's hard, because it's just such a sensitive issue for people that I know for me, being called fat, like, totally, it was when I was
it derailed you, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
from third grade for 20 years, then I was like, it was hard. So but I see what you're saying. We can't make it a bad thing to have extra weight. It's not a bad thing to have some extra flesh, like you said. And I weigh 40 pounds more than I did at my smallest when I was in my eating disorder. And so that has been a struggle, but I feel way better about myself and my confidence today than I did when I weighed 40 pounds less. And
right? It is not, it has nothing to do with size. Yeah. It's such a good it's such a good conversation. It's really important for mamas to really look at it. So thank you for bringing that conversation up.
I know we have talked for so long. I love talking to you. Marla, you've done a TED Talk, and people can look it up. If they just type in your name, they can watch your TED Talk, which I loved watching. And then your coaching company is called Love Your Body, Love Yourself Always. So that is your website, right? They can look it up on your website and Instagram.
LoveYourBodyLoveYourself.com.
.com, okay. And then will you kind of just share really quickly before we leave what it looks like when you bring someone on to coach them, and like what they can expect when they work with you?
Yeah, well, you can really expect us to go deep, right? This is not like figuring out what food you're going to eat. It's, it's really like the deeper journey of like, how can we make your life feel really good? How can we make you feel confident and alive? That's really the basis, is like looking at that deeper stuff so that you can have the life that you really want to be leading. So, so I have coaching programs, and one-on-one and group programs and a lot of different ways to work with me. So if you're struggling, do reach out to Nichole, find someone. I could never have done this by myself.
I know, right?
Really, we need each other. We need
Yes.
each other. It doesn't have to take as long as it took me to get it taken care of. Like, I have a toolbox full for you if you need it.